Welcome back to the podcast. Hey, we took a little hiatus on this thing, so Mr. Wade could take a little time off and take care of his folks up there in the Bay Area, which is a long ways away. So we had to shut her down for a little bit, but folks are doing okay?
Folks are doing okay.
Good. They're up in their 90s and need a little extra care right now.
Yep.
Families first, man.
Right.
We'll get back to this whenever. I'm so excited to have our guest today, Mr. Benjamin Forest. This is the third time we've had you on here, and boy, I tell you, we've come a long ways. I think I met you, I don't know if it was just before or after the pandemic.
It was in the middle of it. It was almost exactly 4 years ago.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And man, I'm telling you, when we had first met, well, to be nice, you were going through a lot of loss at the time. Mm-hmm. You just lost your father. Just to give a little background on where we are right now, you just lost your father, and you had decided to retire from the Air Force, which you'd been in for 25 years, and I want to talk a little bit about that before we get in here. Mm-hmm. You had, I think you were just waiting for an okay on your apartment. Mm-hmm. And you had got it while we were doing the podcast, and you're all excited. You got to go get your dog and everything, but you were suffering through a little bit of loss, and you were trying to figure out what's next for me. Mm-hmm. Had a lot of houses that you had bought through the career and sold them off when you retired. So you're set. You're good to go. You don't have to worry about too much, but other than getting through this 25 years of military service. Now, to give you a little background on this guy's born and raised in San Francisco by basically a lot of hippie-type people. Okay, so you started out that way. You told us a little bit about growing up as a vegetarian, and which I thought was extremely interesting. You went from that life to joining the military. And you're telling me, well, how else do you revolt against parents? You go the opposite way of them. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it makes perfect sense. If you're raised without discipline, what do you go seek? Discipline.
Right.
If you're raised with too much discipline, you go wild. So it makes sense.
And I never really thought about that. That was really cool. That was an interesting way to look at it. So you'd gone through the Air Force. You'd done, I think you said 4 master's degrees.
Yeah, I came in with a high school diploma, left with 4 master's degrees
and
as
you were
an officer.
What was it? Air and War College, I think. And then we talked a little bit about your studying the computer systems and that type of thing. And so you were extremely intelligent in computer systems. So just to give you guys a little background, we're not talking about a knucklehead here. Benjamin, after 4 years of working to better himself, has just put out a new book, which I haven't had a chance to read it because I just got it today. Trip of a Lifetime. I'm going to put it on there. I don't know if you can.
Got it.
We'll have Wade put it up on the screen. So what Benjamin did is he went off searching for healing for himself. Now tell me a little bit about the journey where you started.
Sure. Yeah. So after a very successful quarter-century military career, I'm working at the Pentagon. I'm going to Iraq, Afghanistan. I'm doing all the things.
Right.
Started at the lowest enlisted rank and thought I was going to go be an 06, a colonel. But yeah, after my dad died, I had kind of a mental collapse on active duty.
Right.
And they gracefully let me retire. But I was just so depressed. I've tried every SSRI. I've tried all the therapies. I kind of went through, the checklist of what you're supposed to do dealing with depression, and nothing helped. And I saw a TED Talk called Can Magic Mushrooms Unlock Depression with Dr. Rosalind Watts.
Okay, yeah.
And that was what inspired me to go try psychedelics for the first time. Little full circle side note, I corresponded a little bit with Dr. Rosalind Watts, who authored the tech doc that helped change the trajectory of my life.
Did you?
And she's in England, but she will be getting in the next week or so a signed copy of the book.
Oh.
And liked my little post recently. So I love that full circle that this woman thousands of miles away created this TED talk at Oxford that inspired me to go try psychedelics and utterly transform my life. And now, 4 years later, she's holding the book in her hands.
Oh, did you get to articulate all of that to her?
I did.
What a journey it sent you on.
Yeah, I sent out kind of this, shot in the dark, message.
Right.
She's a public figure.
Sure,
I was expecting she might ignore me.
Yeah.
But no, she said it made her day. And
that's so
cool. To read the
cool.
book, so it's neat. Beautiful connections between strangers.
Well, we went through a whole lot of details in the first and the second podcast. So if you guys have not seen that, I urge you to go back and check that out. And we'll go into a lot more detail of what you were going through, your family life, your But on this podcast, I just want to make sure everybody knows where we're coming from, and I want to introduce this book, and because you've done an amazing job over the last 4 years of trying to transform yourself. You went into, I think you tried a little public speaking, then you went into improv. I think you told me it's just time for me to learn how to play again. I thought that was so interesting. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've described in the book and elsewhere this magical night, April 16th of 2021. That was when I first tried psychedelics, heroic doses psilocybin, and whoosh, just this joy and this energy was flowing through me. And one of the ways that energy expressed itself is through creativity. Suddenly I'm taking up photography, I'm doing improv comedy. I did a stand-up gig opening for a professional comedian at the Sunset Center in November.
Oh, cool.
Like, all this kind of creative energy started flowing out, which makes sense because when I think back to how I was as a kid, maybe how most kids are, I was such a creative kid, just lost in my imagination.
Sure.
And to create without self-consciousness or without needing to be good or to impress anybody is kind of this childlike way of playing that I had to kind of rediscover.
Right.
And part of that creativity was writing. Ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a writer. My late teens, I thought I'm going to go be the modern day Jack Kerouac, right? I was pretentious enough to believe that. But here's the thing about being a writer. You got to pay your mortgage and your car insurance and food, and there's not a lot of people throwing money at you for novels. It's like trying to be a movie star, right? You're one in a million if you can actually make a living. So life intervened and I wound up joining the military. But I never lost that passion for writing. Yeah. And then when I discovered psychedelics, it was like, boom, there's the book. Yeah. There's the book. This fascinating substance, these molecules that can unlock the human brain. That's what I want to write about. Right. And we've done this trilogy now. So in the first one, I didn't have a place to live. I just moved to California. I didn't know a soul in Monterey. Life was this completely empty canvas. Yeah. And then a couple years later, we chatted and, okay, I've got a place to live. I've got my communities. Yeah. I'm doing coaching around psychedelics for people. And now, 2 years later, the book is launching out there. And that's the burst of creativity. Right. That doesn't seem to be stopping.
Well, you had just come out of quite a trying time in the military. Yeah. And I don't want to touch on that too heavy, but I know you were in Afghanistan, and I know you were, part of that pullout, and you had a lot of on your mind, or you're carrying a lot on your shoulders when I first met you.
Yeah, when we had our first podcast, that was the pullout from Afghanistan. Right. So I
don't want to go in too much detail. I know, I dig it, but this is what you were chasing at that point.
Yeah, so I'm down there, at a freaking Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'm looking up at the TV screen and oh my gosh, that's Kaya. That's the Kabul airport. I used to work on that damn airway. And I'm in correspondence in real time back then with a guy who's trying to get to that airport so he can get on a plane and come to the U.S.
And he'd been working for you. So you were carrying that, man. It was man, there's just nothing you can do about that. But at the same time, you're like...
But there was.
There was. Tell me.
Yeah, so he needed a letter. He needed a letter verifying that, he had worked for NATO and that he was a trusted and all for. So I got that letter to him, and we're in correspondence kind of almost every day. And then he goes silent. And 10 days go by, and I'm like, wow, probably the worst happened.
Got him.
And then I get an email from him, and he is in the States, and he's currently living in San Diego. He's got a couple daughters, and wow, his daughters' lives in San Diego versus Afghanistan, knowing how they treat women there. Wow.
That was the thing, right? Yeah. It was I can get him the paperwork, but I can't get him to the airport. Yeah. They're not going to let him go. They're letting the Nationals leave, but they're not letting this guy, and you're just carrying that. I felt bad for you. I'm glad that you were able to at least contact him, and his girls are safe. And
Yeah, and
huge weight off.
I don't know the exact scenario of how he got to the airport, but he was the owner of the business, and a little bribery goes a long way in Afghanistan.
Righteous. Yeah. Whatever it takes, man. You got little girls.
Yeah.
Get them the hell out of there. Yeah, good for you, man. Right on. So that's kind of just, a little nutshell of what you're going through when you're coming out of there,
Yeah.
So I don't think that you were ready for psilocybin, or psilocybin is the mushroom. There was other ones that you weren't ready to try, but then you did later, maybe.
I've tried everything my friend.
Because at the time you were like, I only want something that's safe. We're gonna just do a little bit of tea, and you had done that, and it's like, as far as what's that called? Where they mix the bark and the
talking ayahuasca, maybe?
Ayahuasca, that kind of thing. Yeah, you didn't seem like you wanted to go into that.
I don't know that I would say
that.
So the way it kind of unfolded for me is I had the heroic dose of mushrooms that changed my life.
Right.
And then with the depression lifted and in this place of like great joy and bliss and all that stuff, I wanted to wait to see how long this would last. It was kind of like a private one-person science experiment of how long will this relief of depression last after that heroic dose of mushrooms. And eventually, impatience got to me. I don't know if it was 4 or 5 months later. I said, okay, I'm going back in.
Okay.
So I did a heroic dose of psilocybin again. Felt very called to ayahuasca. That grew to be one of my favorite medicines.
Oh, okay.
And I could go on a list of about a dozen different medicines. I've kind of, at this point, traveled the world partaking of different medicines. I'm heading to Costa Rica on this Friday, actually, to the Iboga Wellness Center. They offer up Iboga. I'll say briefly what that is. So it is a substance from this West African shrub, the Iboga, and if you consume enough of the bark the natives found, it produces one of the longest psychedelic experiences there is. And they use it around rite of passage and spirituality. But where it caught the attention of Americans was a heroin addict, I believe in New York City, decades ago, got a hold of Iboga and took it. And it's a very long medicine, and it's not particularly fun. So at the end of 30 hours or so, he said, why would anybody do that? And then he thought, that's weird. I don't have any craving for heroin and no withdrawal symptoms. And so the substances within Iboga appear to be the most powerful opioid treatment that there is. If you are a heroin addict, probably your best course of action, I'm not a doctor, is to go explore Iboga. Get your heart checked out first, but it is the most powerful treatment we have for opioid addiction. And more research is building up that it also is very powerful in the treatment of PTSD and traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do down in Costa Rica is to assist in holding space for a group of military veterans who are going down there to experience Iboga. The guy who runs it, Levi, is very experienced with Iboga, but he has no military background, so he thought it would be helpful to have me there because I can, have a shorthand communication with them that, a non-military person maybe couldn't. Maybe get what they're talking about a little quicker.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Right. You know, because they feel like one of the brothers is with them.
Exactly.
And you're not going to be tripping out. You'll be watching over them.
Yeah. And I've been through my hero's journey, so I can talk to them as somebody who's, already been down this path before.
Right.
Our roads are going to be different, but there can be some echoes.
Yeah. So tell me about the book. What was the idea? Give me, I know. Where did you start at? Did you start with the military, or I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to read it.
No.
Give me a little nutshell.
I'll tell you about two versions of the book. There's basically two versions. The first version started a few years ago, and it was essentially a memoir, starting with, the moment I was in the VA psych ward almost 5 years ago now. It'll be 5 years in November. And then going to experience psychedelics. And then it became this, memoir travelogue of going around and exploring these different medicines and the lessons I learned from them and everything. And 320 pages later, I realized, what's the purpose of this book? And the question that came to mind is, who did I write this for? And the answer that came back was, I wrote this for me.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah. But I wanted to write something that was going to go out there in the world and be really helpful to people. And I don't think me and my adventures and my healing is necessarily going to be of that much interest to people.
Sure.
And a very blunt friend of mine said this to me. He said, look, Ben, I'll be honest with you. Unless you're famous, nobody wants to read your fucking memoir. Okay. That's fair. I mean,
Right.
that's not 100%
right.
true.
Not to hurt your feelings,
but yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
Your mom might like it. But.
Yeah. So I put it aside, and I just kind of sat with it for a while. And then I had the epiphany that I think there is a psychedelic book out there that's never been written. Nobody has ever actually written a true self-help book about psychedelics. And I say that acknowledging there are some books that are maybe like in that neighborhood, but when I think about a self-help book, I think about, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And these books are very friendly. And they include, a little bit of personal story from the author. They include like client stories, but they're kind of built around these like basic principles. And it should be really easy to digest and not that, PhD academic journalist type of language that tends to creep into a lot of psychedelic books. Nothing wrong with that stuff. That's great. But over here, I felt like, okay, I can try to write a self-help book where if somebody opens up that book and can't even spell the word psychedelics, at the end of a couple hundred pages, they are going to be very prepared for a journey. And so I basically tried to create the 7 Habits of Highly Psychedelic People. Now there's 10 principles, not 7, but I had to fudge a little. So it walks through the 3 phases of a psychedelic journey: preparation, navigation, and integration. And to those who have been working with psychedelics a while, those are familiar terms, but for somebody who's never done psychedelics, they don't totally know what that means and specifically what it entails. So in the preparation section, I talk about them. Okay, how do you find a medicine that's going to maybe work well with you? Are you going to do that one-on-one with a therapist? Are you going to do it in a group ceremony? How do you set your intentions for the journey?
And these are all part of the preparation.
Yeah,
point.
practical
That's
considerations. So that's all the preparation.
Right.
And so there's 3 chapters on that. And then it comes navigation. And navigation is you've just consumed the medicine. How do you deal with the big stuff that comes up? And give some advice around that. And then the third part is integration. So we've prepared, we've done all our homework, we picked the right place, we're doing this safe. We've navigated through the journey. We've had our big explosive, maybe, experience with the medicine. Now, how do we bring that into our life? And I have more chapters on integration than anything else because I think that's where people often fall short.
Sure.
You go have this big experience. You might have some huge revelations about changes that you need to make in your life. And then Monday morning, you're back home and your boss needs something and your wife's nagging you and the kids are throwing tantrums. And it's easy to get lost back in daily life.
Same rut.
And not take those lessons into your daily life.
Right.
So I spend 4 chapters talking about how do we, bring this into our life.
Well, I think when you're reading a self-help book, like you say, like a 7 and, those type of books, the main thing is you have to follow up on what you've learned. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the shortfall of that type of a book. Yeah. So, kudos to you for following up on that. What we need to do in the third, now that you've had this, now what?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Let's break down these one at a time a little bit.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about the preparation.
Sure.
Okay, what would you walk me through? Somebody maybe just came out of war, or just came out of some type of trauma.
Yeah.
And they want to look into this. What would they do to prepare to do this? Now you're like, find which one would work for you best. I don't know. How would you do that?
Yeah, probably medicine, set and setting are good terms to think about. So in terms of what medicine will be most useful, we never really know, actually.
Right.
If somebody wants to start in a completely legal route, as a lot of people do, ketamine is the one big psychedelic that can be administered legally in a medical office. So if legality is a big factor for you, that's a nice starting place. For PTSD in particular, MDMA appears to be the most effective treatment for PTSD. So that's where I would perhaps you're somebody who's going specifically around PTSD.
MDMA, what is that?
MDMA is a artificial psychedelic. It's not technically a psychedelic. It's an empathogen, but we don't need to split hairs.
Okay.
But it is a heart-opening medicine.
Okay.
You might know it as, Molly or ecstasy.
Okay.
So people will, take it and dance around with high energy, which to me is a waste of MDMA.
Right.
To me, like, the power of MDMA is to do it in a therapeutic setting. If you're dealing with PTSD, having a therapist there is, going to be essential. It's also really helpful in couples counseling. I have literally done couples counseling while me and my lover are on MDMA, and there's a therapist there fully sober. And so it's kind of like this marathon 4-hour therapy
Love
session
fest.
where we are both in a place where our defenses are lowered.
Oh,
we're
neat.
able to be introspective in a kind, loving, gentle, listening way. Yeah, it's an empathogen, so it enhances empathy, right?
Sure.
So that's MDMA. And, heroin addiction, I'm probably going to suggest iboga. So in the introduction, it goes through kind of like the big 8. And reading those might make somebody go, oh, that's probably a good fit. That sounds like something I could use.
Yeah.
So there might be that inner call. And then set and setting are old terms that Timothy Leary came up with, I think, back in the 60s. So set and setting, what does that mean? Set is your mindset.
Okay.
So that can be, getting your intentions down correctly, probably, journaling about stuff that you think, needs to be explored in the psychedelic experience, and feeling safe. And feeling safe, I think, goes to setting, which is the setting in which you're doing it. The worst thing somebody can do is take psychedelics in an unsafe setting, because you're in such a vulnerable place. If you're feeling unsafe, what could be an amazing experience can feel like a nightmare. Like, I've known people who, as teenagers, did psychedelics with a bunch of asshole friends who wound up, messing with them while they're in this vulnerable state, and it winds up being really traumatic. So obviously, we're talking about therapeutic use of psychedelics here, not that crap.
Right.
And so, finding somebody to hold space for you so you feel safe, so you know that you're taken care of. It's environment. Maybe you want to have a hospital nearby, like all the little things that are going to help you feel safe and warm and cozy. And finding the right person to hold space around you is important. I wish this wasn't the case, but there are egomaniacs and predators out there, right? There are so-called shamans who are a lot more interested in, money, women, and ego than they are actually healing, which is, to me, like blasphemous, given how sacred I hold this medicine. So that's basically preparation. What medicine's calling to you? What kind of mindset do you need to get into? And what's the setting where you're going to do this? That's preparation.
Wow. Right.
Yeah.
I heard a story one time where there was a shaman that maybe I heard it from you. I don't remember, but he was a goofball. He went the wrong way on a couple of things, and a few months later he died out in the jungle. And the people that were from his village were like, "Well, the village, the forest just came and got him. Yeah. He was not a good man. Yeah, it was like the jungle just took him." Well, that's interesting how they think about that. He wasn't a good guy, so the jungle came in and took him away from us.
I wish life was always that fair.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not that fair, but
I wouldn't trust that.
Great story.
I mean, there's maybe been a little bit of luck for me, but I also think I'm very discerning. Like, I can spot a con man pretty quick, right? Yeah. So I've had very wonderful experiences with everybody who has held space for me. Yeah, right. I can find them.
Very interesting.
So that's preparation. Navigation, I won't go too deep into, but I'll share two things. One is that in the cave you fear to enter is the treasure that you seek. That's a quote from Joseph Campbell that I think is absolutely critical. In the cave you fear to enter is the treasure that you seek, meaning those places that you're afraid to go inside yourself, maybe some hurt, maybe some shame, maybe some insecurity, that's actually where you need to go. And so let's not waste this medicine. If you're going to go take this medicine, you built a safe cocoon to really try to dive into those scary places. And the other thing I would tell people is open your heart. Like, a lot of us, especially men, we tend to be kind of like closed off, and we suppress our emotions and we kind of bury it all down inside. Sure. Boys don't cry, right? And medicine is an opportunity to like let that stuff out. Like before I tried psychedelics, like I could not access that place. I don't know why. I mean, I'd probably been, trained to suppress all this stuff for so long that I just got too good at it. And I couldn't actually get down there until I had the substances.
That's part of what you were saying, where you would go in to see a doctor and it just wouldn't work.
No.
Speech therapy and, not speech, but, talk therapy and that type of thing. And then after you had done it, you said, it worked for me.
Yeah.
So maybe it opened up something, huh?
Talk therapy for me, I mean, it's valuable to like understand the dynamics that are going on in there. But like at a certain point, it's just intellectually understanding the problem. And so what? It's like admiring the problem. Okay, I understand how mom and dad affected me and why I'm this way.
Right.
But so what at a certain point?
Yeah.
That's helpful, that's interesting, but it is not breakthrough.
I see.
I think breakthrough comes from a more emotional place and maybe even a more physical place. I've been shocked by how physical psychedelics were for me from the get-go. I'm not shocked by it anymore. One of the most important psychologists of the 21st century is Bessel van der Kolk. And he wrote the book, The Body Keeps the Score. As a masseuse, you're familiar with it. And it was pretty groundbreaking. It was based on his work with military veterans at the VA and developing that idea that trauma is stored in the body and that this intellectual exploration is not going to be the breakthrough.
Right.
I had a chance to meet him about 6 months ago at the Esalen Institute. There was a 5-day workshop he was giving on trauma. And at a certain point, he did talk about psychedelics, and he described all the different, categories and what they do. And then he said this at the end, and it was so important. I went and caught him afterwards and said, "Hey, I'm quoting you on this in my book, okay?" And what he said was, "But all psychedelics lead to the same place, the opening of the heart." And I do think like that's kind of what it is. Our hearts get clogged up and constipated because we don't know how to deal with shit. And we can do that for a long time, but eventually life might become too much for the fucking heart to bear.
Right.
And you got to let it out. And so the treatment for that emotional constipation is the emotional laxative, which is what psychedelics became. So I always tell people, let it out. Let it out. If you got to cry, you got to scream, you got to throw up, shake, whatever you got to do. Yeah. This is your opportunity and your invitation to do that. Yeah.
You say open up your heart, but you're using that kind of as a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's not really in your heart. It's more of a mind flush, I think.
I
understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, metaphorically, yeah. But so the mind is this place
Take me deeper into
where
what
we
you
get
think
kind
where
of
that
like
is.
lost in thoughts.
Right.
And I mean it in the feelings, emotional way.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. If Western medicine isn't on point, maybe there is a heart chakra that we really do tap into. I don't know. When I broke through, the night I broke through, this is what I was doing.
You were pounding on your chest.
I was pounding on my chest, and it does feel like I was banging on my chest, demanding that it open. And
really?
It did. So,
you had said that before, that you were like, I may have opened my heart chakra that night. And I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I'm a military guy going into this ceremony. The fact that I'm talking like that about it when I couldn't even have really probably told you what a chakra was gives it some more credibility, right? Like, because I'm not somebody who's like, oh, I want to go have a Kundalini awakening. No, I just want to get cured from my depression. But yet I still wound up in these places that sounded a little woo-woo, not from wanting to or from reading about it, but from actual experience.
Right. But you did grow up with, books from your folks, I forget the one was reincarnation, that type of thing. You grew up in that kind of setting. And
I mean,
it was there back there somewhere. I think a little bit. So
I turned up my nose at all that stuff though.
Like
reincarnation, astrology.
Oh, you did.
Cards.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Right.
And Jung, I think, Carl Jung, I think you studied a lot of that. I think we talked a little bit about that.
I went to, in this 4-year journey, I went to therapy school.
I see, okay.
And thought I was going to be a therapist.
Oh, right.
And during the first semester there, I did my research on Carl Jung because his thoughts seemed to lend themselves towards psychedelics a lot. As it turned out, he was relatively ignorant of psychedelics. I don't mean that in an offensive way. He just didn't know a lot about them.
Yeah.
And didn't have any, I don't think, personal experience with them. And yet, it seemed like he was getting to the psychedelic space without psychedelics. That's my sense of what Carl Jung was able to do. And he had a very famous quote, "Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will rule your life and you'll call it fate." So how do you make the unconscious conscious? For him, there was a lot of, dream analysis and other things, but no, if you want to make the unconscious conscious, big dose of psychedelics will get you there real quick. You might not be pleased with the results.
Take you right down that road.
It does have the subconscious get out, and if you can hold that result in the right way and process through that unconscious in the right way, you may have just found, the most important healing tool in the history of psychology.
Making the unconscious conscious.
Yeah.
And being able to discern what's destroying me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
But I'll tell you this. So I did drop out of therapy school.
Sure.
And there was a lot of reasons why I did.
Well, you were saying, "Hey, I'm 50, man. I don't want to mess around. Let's get this going now."
Yeah. And obviously, I don't think I would have, gone on to write the book in this time frame if I had. But the other thing that made me leave, I was shocked actually at the lack of knowledge about psychedelics. I may have just gotten the wrong crop of teachers, but the three main professors I had in that semester knew almost nothing about psychedelics. Mm. I knew way more about them, both scientifically, academically, and experientially. And they didn't even seem all that curious about it. So here's the most important tool in the history of psychology, in my view, and they're not even looking into it. Mm. This isn't my place.
Right.
You guys have nothing to teach me.
Right.
I'm being a little hyperbolic there, but that's how it felt.
Well, we got to bring this up to where it needs to be.
Yeah, if I'm going to go be a psychedelic therapist, can I please learn from some people who are, experts in this?
Yes. And especially with such groundbreaking things that are going on with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that first semester, that one semester, we did have 3 hours dedicated to psychedelics.
Really?
But the topic was this: cultural appropriation in psychedelics. I'm like, ugh. And it's not even that I disagree with you. I totally think we need to be respectful and reverent about those aspects. But if that's the only conversation we're going to have this semester, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is a political agenda. This isn't about healing. Can we please talk about psychology and what this can actually do to help our clients?
Yeah, that'd be a good way to open the conversation.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
So anyway, I'm very happy I went. I'm very happy I quit. If I hadn't gone, I always would have wondered, and if I hadn't quit, I wouldn't be on the beautiful path I am.
Right.
And I think I'm better at this anyway. We should follow our bliss. We should follow our passions. We should follow our talents. And I would have been an okay therapist, but I'm much better, I think, as a writer and speaker. I think that's the gift the universe has given me.
There you go.
That's what I want to go do.
Right.
Therefore.
So you said you broke it up into 3 different sections.
Yeah, we did.
What's the second one?
So that was navigation. So the preparation's getting ready. The navigation's actually doing the medicine. And then the last piece is integration.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, there's
you wrote extra chapters on that one, so I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, I could spend a lot of time on integration, and I don't feel that would necessarily be helpful for this more general audience.
Okay.
So I'll give a few examples. So one of them is journaling. I think is key. I'm a very word-oriented person, so for me, journaling about my experiences afterwards was like creating my own personal scripture.
Right.
It can also manifest through some physical activities, meditation, yoga, and it can also be extraordinarily practical. I have had multiple clients who go have a psychedelic journey, and the revelation is actually very simple: stop drinking.
Yeah.
So that's the integration, is to find a way to stop drinking. Maybe the medicine can wake you up, or maybe you need to go do AA, whatever you need to do there. And my second big experience with psychedelics, it was my integration was an apology tour. I came out of the 5-hour journey and I wrote down a list of people I needed to kind of make amends and apologize to. And so my integration was to go do an apology tour.
Sounds like the steps kind of.
Yeah.
You know, there
I
lends
could see
itself to that a little bit.
So, I mean, yeah, it could be an apology. It could be taking up meditation. It could be journaling. It could definitely be artwork. I have a whole chapter on unleashing your imagination. But it could be so many different things. All I can really do, I think, is just paint that broad brush. And if somebody's doing that work, I'd invite them to read the chapters and also to find somebody who can walk them along that path.
There you go.
A therapist or a coach. Because this can be a lonely journey. When I had my big psychedelic experience, afterwards it was like, who do I talk to? My friends are all military. My family thinks I'm crazy.
Right.
I'm in the middle of, Utah. Like, where do I find somebody who's been on their own hero's journey and can help me walk me through mine?
Yeah, right.
And I think we talked last time. I did find a coach who was incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Trying to do this alone is probably too much
Yeah.
for most people. And there's a quote from the legal profession: "Well, a man who has himself for a client, or a man who is his own lawyer has a fool for a client." Right. And so a man who has himself for his own therapist is, probably being foolish as well. We sometimes can't see the problem because we're too close to the problem,
Right.
because we are the problem.
So
and we need that outside person to go,
it's so
I'm seeing a pattern there. Are you seeing that? Oh, shit.
A trained professional. Right.
Yeah. So I think having a mentor of some kind along the way is essential.
I've been building this little computer business to try to help people that don't necessarily want to go to college, and it gives them listings of all the different programs out there that you can get into, the schools and
Sure.
how they can get financing and everything else. And then it comes to the point where I need a mentoring system to help these people because it's too hard to see it. Okay, I want to be a plumber. I want to be a lineman for electricity, but you really kind of need a mentor. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you can get lost in it. It's too much. Okay, I want that. I can see it at the end of the tunnel, but it's like to get through that tunnel sometimes it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because you think you're doing the right thing, but you don't know what you're doing, Yeah, especially kids now, they want to get out of the college and be the CEO. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No, don't miss the journey.
Yeah.
Right?
I sense a little bit of an opportunity here for a shift in conversation.
Yeah.
Can I talk a little bit about my next book?
Sure. Yeah. Right. I just wanted to center in on the importance of maybe having somebody walk you through what you're going through.
Yeah.
AA, I was in AA for quite some time. I just passed 40 years of sobriety. I didn't follow it that much, but we do have a mentoring type program in there where if you're having a problem, you got some questions, you can call your sponsor.
Yeah.
I think that's super important in whatever
100%.
you're doing. That's in a new way for you, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I just want to cover that.
No, 100%. In fact, the reason I jump on that is because I've been thinking about that a lot lately. So, my 25 years in the military, for most of it, I was an officer and therefore a leader of men, right?
Yes.
And then after I got out, the last thing I wanted to do was lead anything. I'm going to lead myself and my dog. Like, I'm done.
Right.
My kids are grown.
You earned it.
I don't have a boss. Yeah, I'm checking out.
Right.
I'm done being a leader.
No guilt, nothing. I'm walking away.
Yeah.
I've earned it.
And I took my 4 years off, but god damn it, life's asking me to go be a leader again. But it's in a different way. So obviously, my speaking engagements and podcasts and writing the book, I am stepping out and being a leader there. But the more I've been, I don't know, kind of sitting with it and doing some medicine journeys, I think there's another piece of work that life is calling me to. And I think it is work around specifically about mentoring men, and especially younger men. I raised 2 daughters, so I don't have experience of being a father of a boy, but when I look, as somebody who's been on this planet for over 50 years, what it must be like to be a young man right now, oh God, that looks really freaking difficult.
You deal with military boys.
Yeah.
So they're probably a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, a little more stable, I guess, by the time they get to you.
Yeah.
Right? Aside from just taking somebody off the street, That's not.
Yeah, and especially in the Air Force, I mean, we screen for very physically and mentally capable people.
Right.
Like 80% of young men and women are not even eligible to get in the Air Force for various reasons. And that's different too, because so we have and I'm just going to talk about men. So we have a very clear rite of passage for somebody who's going into the military.
Right.
You go into basic training a boy and you leave a man, and you learn to work with other people, and you learn how to follow rules, and you learn how to put up with really intense pressure. And basic training may not be fun, or it may be, but damn it, I think it's good for young men. I don't think everybody should be in the military, but I kind of wish every young man could go through basic training in a certain sense, because that is, I think, a rite of passage that young men need. So I feel very fortunate because I was that chaotic young man. Right. I mean, my late teens were a mess, and I needed discipline, and I needed leadership, and I needed a mentor.
Right.
And I found one.
Right. You went in a boy and you came out a man.
Yeah. And I found amazing mentors. Like my first boss in the military, damn, he was such a good mentor to me.
Really?
He was the freaking best.
Right.
Charles Thurman, if you're out there, thank you.
Yes, right.
And
as far as what? Morals? What was he drilling
a lot
on
of
you?
things. For one thing, he had incredible belief in me. Maybe even more than he should have.
That's more
he showed me, respect, and he believed I was capable of succeeding. And when he saw ambition and talent, he just poured fuel on it. He really did. If I had to pick one thing there, but he would also call me out, on my shit.
Sure.
We mentioned, here's another thing he did. He would give us books, like leadership books and management books. And then he would sit down with us on Friday and we'd have a conversation about it in a very small circle. And one of the books he handed me was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Okay.
And 21-year-old Ben, I think at that time, said, I read that book, but it didn't do anything for me. He called me out on that real quick. He said, well, did you do anything with it, or did you read it just to read it?
Yeah.
I was like, I
read it.
I read it just to read it. I didn't do anything with it. And I shared that anecdote in the book because, the same thing with this book. If you just read it and you don't do anything with it, it's whatever. It's worthless.
Right.
And so yes, that belief in me, in fueling my talents, but also calling me out when I needed to be called out was critical.
You're never sure of anything at that age.
Yeah. I thought I was sure of everything.
Well,
I was very cocky.
Yeah.
But I wasn't right.
It means, the meaning of seeing somebody that believes in you.
Yeah.
I think you take on some of that belief in yourself.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And
I'm sure you're a cocky little kid coming out of San Francisco.
I was very cocky.
Yeah.
Which was helpful, actually. Confidence goes a long way. And
That's
later on,
an important point. That really is. Confidence goes a long way.
Yeah. Oh, amen.
Yeah.
That's probably worth being a chapter.
Didn't mean you cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah. No, we'll get back there. And other military leaders throughout were just so impactful to me. So I had my rite of passage. I had my mentors, and I think as a result and part of that, a very successful life. But what if I hadn't had those things? What if I hadn't had those examples and mentors? I might have continued being a mess. Maybe I would have got my shit together, but I might have continued being a mess. And so when I look at young men today who are in maybe a similar chaotic place, they're not motivated, and I think this generation might have it worse. When I think about growing up today versus growing up when I grew up, there's, good and bad on both sides of the equations. But I think it's a very confusing time for young men now. And I never want to talk about politics, but I'm going to give myself 2 minutes here, and I'm not going to point a finger at any particular person. I'm just going to notice trends I see on the left and the right. I'm poking both ways. When I look to the right, what I see around masculinity is a caricature of masculinity. And it reeks of insecurity, honestly.
Sure.
And it's not genuine, and it's not real, and in some cases isn't earned. It's just, ugh. Yeah. I don't like what I see over there. And a lot of it is toxic. I'll use that word. There is such a thing as toxic masculinity. And I do see a lot of that exhibited on the right. And then I look over to the left, and what kind of messages is a young man getting growing up in our society? They're hearing about toxic masculinity. They're hearing about the patriarchy. They're hearing about male privilege. And it's almost as if the left wants you to be ashamed and apologize for being a man.
Right.
And God damn it, there is a middle ground here,
Right,
between this caricature of masculinity that to me reeks of insecurity, and this self-flagellation that's just creating more shame.
Right.
That's going on the left.
Hate myself.
I know. I'm sorry, I'm a dude. I didn't ask to have a penis. Right? No, these are both
Stop
bad.
it.
These are both bad.
Right.
Like, I do feel there has to be some kind of like third path of masculinity where we can be all those great things. It's good to be courageous, to be a leader, to be a provider, to be a protector. That's all great shit, and we should be applauding men for doing that well, right? And we also have the right to be full human beings. We experience emotional pain and grief and sorrow and insecurity just like every woman does, and that is not being feminine, that's being a full human being.
right.
And so when I think about what I'm being called to do next, I think maybe it is to go be that mentor. I never had a son, but I do believe that I have what it takes to be a mentor to young men.
Yeah.
I think to do that, like there's two qualities that you need. Like, I think you need to have some masculine street cred. Like, a young man wants to see a man who, has some confidence, has maybe been in a war zone. And, I've earned that, right? I've checked all the boxes of masculinity, but I'm also not afraid to go into my heart and to be vulnerable and to shed some tears if that's what the moment is called for.
Right.
And I think we need, examples of that that just are not present when I look around.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked multiple people this in the course of the conversation. I'm like, tell me a good example of masculinity in our society today. Who is the man that a young boy should be looking up to and trying to emulate today? Most of them come up blank.
Right.
I can come up with a few examples because I've thought about it enough, but there's not enough.
Right, not enough.
Yeah, there's really not.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to, so I know it's my natural inclination to write a book about this, and I'm going to.
Yeah.
But as we were talking earlier, like, what's my audience and how do I reach them? Because if I am trying to reach young men, I don't think they're picking up a book. So maybe there's a podcast. Maybe I got to learn how to TikTok. I don't know. I think it's a message that needs to come out.
There's so much segment. You have to kind of shoot for a particular generation.
Yeah.
I don't know where you were at home, but you had a great childhood. So your parents were always home. But anyway, most of the people that I know, we got off the bus and nobody was home. Latchkey
kids. That's what they called us before we were Gen X.
Kids. I woke up, nobody was home.
Yeah.
Everybody was already gone.
Yeah.
I got myself ready. I got myself to the bus. 1,000 times I had to hitchhike to school.
Yeah.
You just take it.
Yeah.
And then you raise, what do we call, participation trophy babies, where they never did anything wrong. Mm-hmm. Raised by us that don't even know how to deal with children, because we didn't have parents around, except for the lucky people like you, But and then it's like a total different mindset. And now you've got these kids coming up like my grandkids. They come flying down the hill, crash, roll in the dirt. They're jump back up, woo, crash on their bike, and it's like us again.
Yeah.
So it's like
these
it feels like it's going in a pendulum swing.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it feels like to me, doesn't it to you?
Yeah, I can totally go with that.
Yeah, I grew up, the same way. Like, there wasn't family dinner. You go get something out of the freezer and you pop it in the microwave. And I hate to sound like that, old guy that walked up some big hills from school, but damn it, that was a big hill.
Right.
And there's good and bad to that. Like, I do think it made us kind of scrappy and independent, and maybe helped us a little bit. But yeah, the other way where like these kids are being hyper monitored and hyper safe, and damn it, if you're never challenged, you actually don't grow. If you're too safe and too comfortable, you don't grow up.
Right.
And I'm not going to name any names in particular, but I have friends, more or less my age, who have young sons, late teens, early 20s. And this is a sweeping generalization. This isn't everybody, but I see young men who are not getting their driver's licenses, they're not getting jobs, they're not going to college, they're not getting girlfriends,
certainly
they're
not
having
getting
sex,
apartments,
and they're staying at home looking at their phones. And I want to like just say, wake up. Like I can't undo 20 years of parenting, but damn it, where's your mentor who's kicking you in the ass to go, go out there?
Right.
And it's hard for me to relate to directly because when I was, in my early 20s, I wanted to go out and conquer the world.
Sure.
Like I was an ambitious bastard.
Yeah, it's hard to get in your head, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah, and I think there is kind of I don't know if it's a giving up or a lack of ambition or the feeling that the opportunities just aren't there. And I don't know, maybe it's the damn phones. Maybe we've just hypnotized ourselves with these screens that we've lost the motivation to go out there and,
nothing out there can be better than what I'm seeing here. This is instant gratification. Right?
Yeah, I think actually that's part of what the whole phone thing is. It's instant gratification, and it dulls the senses that want to pursue. Mm-hmm. What about this or what about that? And I want to go and do this, but I'm going to check this first. And you end up hours go away, and then apathy shows up right shortly thereafter to go, well, see,
and I am guilty of that too. The number of hours I've spent laying in my bed looking at my phone, it's pathetic. But here's the difference. I didn't live my whole life like that, and I didn't grow up like that.
Right.
It's
I'm
very
not
different.
As wired.
It's very different.
That's true.
At coming at it from somebody who's 50, or in their 40s even, that's coming at it and having lived their life very differently before that. Yeah. There's.
I know there's another
different
way.
Appreciate right. You know the balance. You know the difference with that.
Yeah. Spot on. So what I'm brainstorming right now is like, okay, what are the 25 things that, I think a man needs to know. And so, there'll be a chapter on, boys don't cry, a chapter on dating, chapter on sex, chapter on, what it is to be a man. Like almost as if I had a young son and I wanted to leave him a list of good advice.
Right.
I don't have that son, so I'll just, spread it around for the people whose fathers maybe haven't sorted all their shit out yet.
So maybe just take all those 3 or 4 generations that I was just talking about and cherry pick all the best parts of it. Because us Gen Xers, we have our shortcomings, but we have some really good things to offer.
I love being Gen X. I'm so Gen X.
I'm telling you what, and then in my kids' generation, there's some weaknesses there, but there's also some serious power there. Like, pay attention to your children. Maybe a little too much, but it's like.
Well, you have to find a balance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so there's a lot about balance within all that equation. The guy that you had as your drill instructor. Was that mentor, was that person who saw past just the age or just the energy and saw there was a person in there that he could help come out from where they were and bring structure and bring some balance, and give you the opportunity to either embrace that or not embrace that. And I feel like that's kind of what I'm hearing you wanting to do with the book. It's like, I want to bring this information out. People can choose to do what they want to do. It's not like you're saying you have to do this or you have to do that. But giving them the opportunity and giving them the tools of information so they can make that call. And I think that's huge. So it's a mentor. I don't know. Would you say a mentor by proxy? It's a mentor who is wanting to have an impact for the right reasons, but leaving it to the person who's reading to interpret and move on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll agree with some of it and not others.
Sure.
Yeah, so from that, I don't know, to reach the people I need to reach, maybe that evolves into, YouTube channel. I hope speaking engagements, because I like to talk. And I think that could be maybe even more important than this book. Like, I do think this book as a self-help guide to psychedelics in a really, friendly, simple way, I think that's important for this moment where there's so much interest in psychedelics, but not necessarily a lot of know-how on how to approach them. But boy, this masculinity issue, like, that's kind of everything. Like, we're seeing that play out on a societal level, and I don't know, men have been thrown off kilter. Like, I applaud the progress of women in the last 100 years, but it's knocked men off balance, and we haven't actually, I think, found our footing yet. Like, okay, so if the old rules don't work anymore, what are the new rules? And if we're not sure what those new rules are, some of us just kind of like back off, or some of us get really like angry. And neither of those are good. Like, where's a footing we can find to stand beside the modern woman and still be a man?
Yeah.
And I'm going to address somewhere in the prologue, like, no, this is not about being feminine or getting in touch with your feminine side. This is being a full human being. I had a conversation last week on a podcast, the Optimist podcast, and the host made a really interesting point. He said, I did an experiment for 6 months. I thought, you know what? I'm going to be incredibly open and vulnerable about my feelings, but I'm going to do it like a dude. And so his example, I'm not going to do it as well as he did, but like somebody would ask, like, oh, how you doing? He's like, oh man, I have been so fucking anxious lately. I am so stressed out about this, and my heart is just bursting the fuck open. Now, did he sound feminine?
Not putting a cap on it.
That doesn't sound very feminine to me.
Right. I mean, to a point, because guys don't do that.
I'm exaggerating
but at the same time, right.
Yeah, and there's people you can do that with, and there's people you can't. Like, I modulate based on who I'm talking to, right? Not all my friends are down for my big shit, right?
Right.
But other ones are. Yeah.
Keep your shit to yourself. It's funny when we were raising kids, there was always the joke, they don't come with instructions. They don't come with an owner's manual.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with being a man.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to do, to write something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah. There used to be a manual. Like, there used to be a manual everybody understood.
Right.
Like, to be a provider and a protector.
Sure.
Like my dad, baby boomer, as a father, going out there and making money and being a good provider for the family and kind of keeping the peace in the home, done.
Right.
He was done.
Right.
There was not an expectation on him to be more than that.
Right.
My generation, maybe in reaction to that, there was an expectation to be a lot more. I'm not out on the golf course smoking a cigar while my wife's in the hospital. No, I'm going to Lamaze classes. I'm holding her hand, and I'm trying to be kind of all these things. And seeing what I perceived as shortcomings from my father, I'm trying to overcorrect for that. I'm doing daddy-daughter dates. Yeah, we had
a great combination of that, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we did the daddy-daughter dances. Yeah. We did all, that kind of thing. We did the Lamaze classes. We were in there for the childbirth. But we still were the man.
Yeah.
And if my family wasn't earning enough money with my day job, that means I had to go get a night job. And work all day and all night. Putting my wife out there to work was not an option. Not even a fraction of an option. Because we got 4 kids, and they need you here, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm sure people nowadays would. Probably best is just send your wife to work and, put the kids out to daycare. But it's just, I was kind of the leftover from the baby boomer generation, I guess. I was trying to fight, hold the old time, but still kind of integrate into...
Yeah.
Right?
And my marriage, 25-year marriage, was very traditional.
Was it?
Yeah, I am the breadwinner, she's the stay-at-home mom, and we had this very clear division of labor, which is, becoming less common and also less financially feasible to, let's face the reality, it's tougher to be alive right now financially than it was 50 years ago or whatever. And so this will sound like something a woman would say, I was trying to do it all. I was trying to go be that rock star at work and academically and physically, and also be the doting father. And I was trying to do freaking everything. And then it did reach that point for me where it's like, what am I getting out of this? Like, what am I getting out of this system? Like, one of the things feminists will say is the patriarchy hurts men too. I'm like, I see that because I don't feel like I was a beneficiary of the patriarchy necessarily. I feel like I was constantly working for other people. In this level of self-sacrifice that ultimately I thought was really painful. And so I'm all on board with a man being a provider and protector to whatever degree, makes sense for their situation. But like, oh, who's providing for me? Who's protecting me?
Right.
Like, and so, my big shift that I talk about in the book was me coming out of that psych ward with suicidal ideation and decided, no, I am going to be my own fucking hero right now. I eat first. I'm taking care of myself. I quit my job. I told my wife my health and happiness is more important than my marriage, because that system that I was in, it felt like it was only taking from me and not giving anything.
Right.
And so there was that moment of like, okay, I'm going to take care of this guy.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I think that's one of the messages that I do want to explore around masculinity, because we often talk about being a man in relationship to the other.
Yeah.
A man provides for his family. A man protects the women. A man does this. A man does that. Always for somebody or something else.
Sure.
What about us? Like, are we encouraged to take care of ourselves in healthy ways?
But that was the mindset, though.
Yeah.
When my first child was born, my life was over.
Yeah.
And that's how I wanted it.
Yeah.
I am done.
Yeah.
My life is gone.
Yeah.
Now everything is about this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm going to do everything in my life to keep this guy alive, or, whatever's going through your head at 21 years old. It's like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I got to go to work. I got to work extra hard. I got to get a place for him to be and live and school and, all that kind of thing. That was great. It might over the years, it does take a toll on you.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Like, I think that's
it.
totally appropriate for a time. Like in my 20s and 30s, like, it was, looking back, it was ridiculous how hard I was working for everybody around me.
Right.
And it was, it was noble and it was beautiful, but like, there's a certain point where like, okay, this saw needs to be sharpened. We need some grease on these wheels, because this is not a infinite production machine here. It requires some maintenance.
Exactly, right. A little oil once in a while.
In the perfect world, you have a partner who is doing that for you.
Yeah.
I did not.
Right.
So, yeah.
Throw something in. You look like you're antsy over there.
Let's
hear what you got, man.
Well, it's all really, obviously, it's really thought-provoking. It makes you think about, reflecting on your own childhood and reflecting as I hear you guys talk and that. And, it's a challenge. I didn't, part of the time in growing up, my mom was actually producing a TV show at KCSM TV. And my dad was the director, and she was hosting the show. So there were months and months where there was nobody home when I came home from school.
You were a latchkey kid.
So I was latchkey. And, ride my bike to school and ride it back home. There weren't rides otherwise.
Yeah.
It's either that or walk.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was fortunate enough that my parents lived in a closer proximity to the school. It was like only a mile or even less than that. So that was great, and it was a blessing. But thinking about it from, how am I going to be for my kids, and taking on that approach, like you said, of, I want to use these things that my dad did that I was totally on board with, and there are these other things that, man, that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to reflect that onto my kids.
Yeah.
But what am I reflecting in place of that?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
What am I going to bring to the table that I don't have a reflection of?
And to fill that gap.
And a lot of that was trial and error, and that's the whole, there's no blueprint for the process per se that tells you how to, get through what you're doing.
Yeah, and every kid's different too. My first kid, the big lesson for that kid once she got to about 7 or 8 was like to just get out of her way. All I had to do was get out of her way, because she put more pressure on herself to be like a straight A overachiever than I possibly could. So like I just okay, we'll back off. And then 6 years younger was my next one was like, oh, you're going to need a little prodding. All right, so we're all unique creatures, even within the same family.
Absolutely.
custom fit.
Well, and you don't know until you're in it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're that 30 some odd year old with a young one, you've never been a 30-year-old in the first place, and then second, you've never been 30 with a kid, and yet here you are.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it takes a village. A lot of times it takes the part of a masculine thing for me is recognizing when you need help. If you're told that you need to protect this particular area of wall or this particular, rooftop area, and this is your zone, and you see more and more people coming into that area that you're not going to be able to handle. So you either stay up there and you sacrifice yourself into that because you know there's no way that you're going to be able to accomplish your goal, or you step up and you get on the radio or you get to somebody and you say, hey, I need more people here and here and here, or I need support. And knowing when to do that, and trusting that that's the right thing to do, and that you're not going to get treated less for doing it differently. If you didn't do it, it's like, well, you should have just gone until you were empty. You know.
But that asking for help, I sure picked up that wasn't okay. That asking for help was not okay for a man.
Shows weakness.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know everything. Wait till your father gets home.
Or pretend to. So we'll see how that unfolds, but it's a very interesting conversation that needs some leadership. So
where are we at with
this?
It'll
be helpful.
Where are we at with this generation, say, to 16 to 25? There seems to be, like you were saying, there's a lot of them that are maybe in their 20s and they have absolutely no interest in even getting a driver's license.
Yeah, which for me, like 16, like I'm on my birthday, I'm banging on the door. Would you open? Yeah, exactly. And I do.
So what do you do with that? How do you take somebody that's gotten to that point?
Yeah.
I guess I don't mean to cut you off, but to help out the modern day man.
Yeah.
It's like there is a little bit of a feminine quality to him, more than a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick at like the gender aspects of this young generation. So, and it does imply the pendulum swing, right? So there has been a lot of emphasis on women and women in STEM and all these other things and getting women into positions of power and everything. And I think it worked, right? Because if you look at the young adult, parameters of what's going on, we're seeing that boys are not graduating high school at the same rate. They're not going to college at the same rate. They're not graduating, going to grad school at the same rate. Men are far more likely to be incarcerated, far more likely to be homeless, far more likely to commit suicide, drug abuse, alcoholism. We could kind of keep going on this list a long, long way. And so while I think it's wonderful there's been so much progress around women, like we're missing the other half of this human race. We are not looking out for them in the way that we should be. And maybe we have reached a point where this pendulum has swung too far the other direction.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put it on, women to, heal men or to fix us. I think we men need to step up. And there's this is going to be dangerous territory, but I'll just go there and hopefully listeners can give me some grace. There is a kind of feminization of men that's going on, because who typically is the primary caregiver? It's the woman. Who typically is a teacher in a grade school? It's a woman. Is grade school geared more towards female tendencies or male tendencies? I would strongly argue, and I've talked with child psychologists about this too, that it's geared more towards women, and the women are in charge. And then when men graduate high school, if they graduate high school, who then is that mentor? Like, unless they have a spectacular dad, or maybe they've found some unique talent in some area of life that they can pursue, they can become very lost.
Yeah.
And in becoming lost, they can turn into these, lethargic, phone dwellers who aren't really doing anything with their lives.
Right.
Or they can turn into, misogynistic incels who are angry at the world for various reasons and take it out on others. The school shooters who wind up being men, I think these are these lost, confused men.
Totally.
And so if we look at, I think, the anecdotal evidence of what we're seeing in the youth, but also like look at the actual facts around what's happening with young men and all the things I just listed, like we are missing something. Right. And I do think we've touched on a couple things. Like I think one of them is rite of passage. I think one of them is the need for mentors. And I think one of them is the need for positive examples. And I think community and belonging can blend over all those different areas. I'm in a men's group here in Monterey called Breakthrough. There's other ones like around here. So we are catching some men who are willing like later on in life, but I don't know of anything out there for younger men that's really serving that purpose.
We sure need it.
I will go back to psychedelics here. So I mentioned iboga. In the Bwiti tribe, they're not taking iboga for opioid addiction. They're taking it for rite of passage. This is what happens when you're a young man. You go have this ceremony with the elders. And, for me, I had basic training like, where's the rite of passage? And the medicine that comes to my mind when I think about masculinity is San Pedro, also known as Wachuma. So this is a fairly ancient medicine that was used by indigenous people in ceremonies. And it was called Wachuma, and then the Catholics came, and in a very brilliant twist of rebranding, they stopped calling it Wachuma and they renamed it San Pedro. San Pedro is what? St. Peter. Oh, that sounds pretty Christian. Maybe that'll like soften it up a little bit. And I think it's appropriate that it was called St. Peter because St. Peter is the one that holds the keys to the kingdom of heaven.
Hey!
And having consumed this particular medicine on more occasions than I could know, maybe a couple dozen, I'm not sure, it is kind of like heaven. It is very heart-opening, it's very fun, it's very connecting, it's warm, it's definitely like extroverted. This is not a medicine you take typically and go inside yourself. No, you're talking with other people, you're going out in nature. Like it's a really interesting, fascinating medicine. And the reason I'm going to this one is because the first time I experienced it, I took ayahuasca at night and Wachuma during the day. And ayahuasca is considered the feminine medicine, the grandmother medicine, and it's internal. We're not supposed to talk. And then the next day we do San Pedro, which is like the yin and the yang, because that is the masculine medicine, and we're allowed to talk and be active, and it is called the grandfather medicine.
That is so interesting.
So ayahuasca, my first night doing ayahuasca, like I'm vomiting, going through all kinds of like stuff. I'm not saying there weren't fun moments, but it's a rough night with ayahuasca.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And then I take San Pedro the next day. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Woo! Eat some fruit and chocolate. Like I'm having a good old time. Like, I like dad. Mom's a bitch. Because that San Pedro medicine was so funny. And then I was reflecting, like, so why is this the masculine medicine? Like, when you think about, like, stereotypes of masculinity, it's not being calm and chill and connecting. And I don't know, maybe it is. But I'm like, okay, so what is this? What is it that makes it masculine? I do think it was, the external and the active nature of it compared to ayahuasca. But there was a really important tidbit that I glossed over, the grandfather medicine. What's the difference between grandfather and a younger man? I think the difference is that grandfather has already checked all the boxes of what it is to be a man, and now he's secure.
He's looking for peace.
Yeah, he's made his fortune. Right. He's sowed his wild oats. Right. He's raised his kids by definition. Like he's done all the shit you're supposed to do to be a man.
Right.
And now he can relax and enjoy himself. And it's secure.
Right.
Like it's a secure masculinity. I got nothing to prove to anybody.
Yeah.
And in that security, like there's room to be more playful and more real and more soft. And you can draw upon that old, masculinity that's a little, more rougher and aggressive if you need to. But if you don't need to, just relax. And to give a sense of like how real this grandfather medicine, this idea of, the grandpa, it was for me. When I had kids and I saw my dad playing with my daughters, I was like, where the fuck was that guy when I was growing up?
I've heard that a few times.
Yeah, and it makes sense because when I was growing up, he was off there trying to conquer the world. He was trying to make his fortune. He was running businesses, and he probably, looking back, I have empathy for him now.
Right.
Like, man, that was probably fucking tough.
Yeah.
Like, he was working like the longest hours. His commute was over like an hour. When he came home, he was freaking exhausted. And yeah, all he wanted to do was smoke a joint and watch some TV.
Right.
I'm paying mom to take care of you kids, man. I'm fucking tired. I'm running a business over here. Like,
right.
So I get it. But yeah, and then when my kids were born, like, he was literally retired and honestly just kind of enjoying life. Was he, less of a man? I would say he was more of a man because he could play with this whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Like when he needed to puff up, he would puff up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't need to be the default state. And when a man is puffed up all the time, like, yeah, you seem really insecure, dude.
Yeah,
you need
right.
to relax. And so I think we as men, we do need to go through these stages. First we're the child, and then we're the confused, chaotic teenager. And then, we go through our rite of passage and we learn to be a man, and we do all those, provider, protector, accomplishment things typically. And then we go be, hopefully, the grandpa who has nothing to prove. And we can't skip those, I don't think. I don't think you can go straight from 18 to be in grandpa energy. I don't think life works that way.
Right.
But if we can look to that as the goal, if we can look to that as the example of healthy masculinity, then I think those young men have a direction to move in, even if they can't be there immediately. A 20-year-old can't pretend he's secure in all things because he's not.
Right.
You have to be honest with yourself still.
What's a good rite of passage in 2025?
Yeah.
Ours was, I don't know, mine was getting wheels, getting my car and getting the hell out of Dodge, man. That was my freedom. That was my manhood.
Yeah.
Now I'm not stuck to this house or wherever I can ride my little bicycle.
Yeah. No, all of those things were, I think, important rites of passage. It's getting the wheels. It's getting the first job. It's, losing your virginity. It's, the going to boot camp or going to college, like all those little check boxes. And so obviously some young men are still doing that. But I think the men who aren't checking those boxes of like, go work your ass off at a job, go, fall in love and get your heart broken, like all those things that seemed more normal for me as a kid seem less normal and less frequent now.
I just lied my ass off when I got a job at 14 years old because there was nobody home. Like I was bored out of my skull. Am I going to sit here and watch Gilligan's Island? You're like, no, man, I got to go. I got to go do something. It's like I lied. I was 16. I rode my bike for 3 years before I even got my driver's license. It's like I had to get out and do something, and I just don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
If it's nobody wants to get their car, nobody wants to move out, nobody wants to. It's like, what is today's rite of passage, or there isn't one, or do we need to reinvent something?
I think it's getting an iPhone upgrade, so I can stare at a slightly different.
Probably not far from the truth, though, and I'm so
which has a better camera.
Right. Imperceptible to the human eye, but better.
Right. Exactly. But it says in the stats it's better.
Yeah. And my phone will last a little bit longer for 2 months.
Right.
That's what I need.
The battery.
There are a lot of kids out there that are extremely motivated on the computer to make content, and they're just crushing it, making millions of dollars. And so, there is a drive out there. I'm not saying there isn't. It just doesn't seem to be like that rite of passage like we're talking about.
And if that kid can please come help me with my social media, I would be very appreciative. I will give him some free, wise, grandfatherly advice in exchange for his technical knowledge. My undergrad degree was in computer science. There was a time when I knew this shit and like, oh my God, I'm turning,
right?
90, good memory. And now I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta put together my social media.
Oh my God,
and I have this friend of mine, she's 20 years younger, and she keeps asking me like, oh, why don't you do a link tree? What's the link tree?
I know,
there's this whole language that I've grown out of touch with. It's like, oh my God, I really am turning into a grandpa.
For sure, right? Like, you say something like, oh my God, is my grandpa behind me? Oh, that was me, I said that.
I texted her yesterday. That's cute that you think I know what that word means.
You're cracking me up over
nice.
here. No, really, what is it? That's funny. Yeah, right?
Yeah, and around like gender, like I guess I can't leave talking about this generation, this younger generation, without observing that they have a different relationship to gender. So I grew up primarily in the 80s, and I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there is this part of me who's like, back in my day, you're either gay or you were straight. There wasn't all this confusing
stuff going on.
Yeah.
We're all partially...
So I think that's... The trend of every generation is to like, push boundaries like a little further. Like my dad's generation, probably having long hair was like the big rebellious thing.
Right.
And maybe my generation, it was like being gay, and now it's like the trans thing. And so, yeah, even as I approach like writing the book, I need to like think about that now. Like, oh, I'm coming from my, straight cisgender perspective, and that's not necessarily like what is perceived as like a man today. Like, there's that challenge that comes from the right, define a woman. And so, yeah, here I am trying to define a man, and I realize there's some landmines here.
For sure.
Yeah. Right. And I come at this with just, pure intent. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm honestly just trying to like give some grandfatherly advice, and I don't want to be offensive, but damn it, it's filled with landmines out there. I'm going to piss off some feminists. I'm going to piss off somebody who's trans. Like, there's no way I can talk about this without some blowback.
There's things that I just flat out don't agree with. Somebody was saying the other day they were at a bar, and there was some different transgender, that type of thing. It's like you really couldn't tell them apart, and I kind of had to laugh. It's like, I don't care what kind of dress you put on me. There's nobody in the world that's going to go, I can't tell. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay.
If you lost the beard, it would help.
Maybe right.
Yeah, the beard's kind of a giveaway.
Just made me chuckle a little bit.
The 6'5" frame. That has a little bit to do with it.
No, there's no tight pants or anything that's going to help that out.
Yeah.
I just kind of chuckled.
I appreciate that, there's less like rigid confines around, maybe what it is to be a man or be a woman, but like, I'm not going to pretend there's not a biological reality that has shaped every aspect of our culture and society and history that does come along with the fact that we have different bodies.
I'm not trying to piss anybody off.
Yeah. No,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I joke to women in my life, like, hey, that's the deal. You guys get to have babies. We got upper body strength.
Yeah, right.
That was the deal.
Joe Rogan said that. It's like, you guys only just make all the humans. It's like, it's not like you don't have an important job. I was like, yeah, they do kind of make all the humans, don't they?
Yeah. So whoever I do wind up offending, I hope, you can appreciate that my heart's in the right place.
Right.
But you have to be willing. You have to be willing to offend.
Yeah.
To still make a point.
Oh yeah. If I am trying to please everybody and never offend anybody, I'm going to be a boring fucking guest.
Right.
And nobody's going to believe you.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's going to wonder who's paying.
Exactly.
Who's paying your perspective.
Yeah.
But you have to come to the realization that you're talking to a massage therapist, and you've just written a book on self-help. Mm-hmm. That's all we want. That's all we want is to help people. That's all we do. That's all we do is we're trying to help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you throw a couple of landmines out there, pisses somebody off, it's like, look at the overall of what we're doing here. We're just trying to help.
Yeah. I'm waiting for like my first 1-star review. Yesterday I got my first 4-star review, but I loved it. Like, no, it was really thoughtful. It was kind, and he was acknowledging like, I think my expectations versus the author's intent didn't like totally like match up. No, it was great. Like, I'll take a good, honest, kind 4-star review. Makes it all seem more genuine that way. But no, eventually somebody's not going to like what I have to say, but I can't do hours and hours of podcasts without like, offending somebody.
Right, of course.
And it may say more about them than it does about me.
And just today, like what we covered, you're not going to be able to write a book about what's a man.
Yeah.
Without catching a little bit of backlash.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No question about it. So kudos to you for even thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to do.
Absolutely.
But you're gonna catch some rubber bullets, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So one little fun bit of the book. So you guys may have heard of, maybe not seen, or heard of the vagina monologues.
No.
Oh, okay. It was this famous play. I haven't personally seen it, but it's what it sounds like. It's a series of monologues about the vagina. So anyway, I have a chapter I'm putting together for the book on masculinity called the Penis Pages. So
it's a long book.
It's going to be a long, thick chapter.
Nice.
I'm putting it right in the opening in the middle.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize.
So we thought this was going to be a trilogy, but I may have to come back in a year to talk about the Penis Pages.
Well, yeah.
We'll put a little warning on it.
We can do a warning.
Viewer discretion advised.
But I wanted just to tie back to the book.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you about the foreword.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a bit about who wrote the foreword and why you wanted them to do that.
Yeah, so I was writing the book not intending to necessarily have a foreword, and then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if like some big celebrity were to write the foreword? So I did reach out to like 30 of them, and in my experience, they tend to ignore you. So, and then I thought, oh, Dr. Stephanie Klein, because Dr. Stephanie Klein has two things going for her. It's credible and it's personal. Now, it's credible because she has a PhD in psychology and she's been working with people for 20 years, and she established one of the first open, accessible churches around plant medicine using several different plants. And so, there's a credible person with a PhD who can introduce the book. And she was the woman who hosted the experience that changed my life. So 4 years ago, Dr. Stephanie was the one who administered the psilocybin to me and witnessed what happened in real time. So she's got that solid background and the PhD by her name. She personally witnessed my transformation, and when she read the book, it brought her to tears. She's a writer herself, and she's like, you have created something truly beautiful there. And so she wound up being the perfect person to write the foreword to the book.
Awesome. Couldn't have been a better person.
Yeah.
It was right there. It's your first. How about that?
Yeah. And honestly, that's better than most celebrities, because the celebrity can say some nice words and they got a name I can like throw on the cover, but it's not personal really.
Right.
And this one, it's very personal.
Well, and your book is not about celebrity.
Yeah, exactly.
Your book is about. Mm-hmm. The intent and the guidance, and so having somebody that's been in that position, and literally in that position with you, was significant. That's awesome. Yeah,
one of the things that was most beautiful about writing the book, I mentioned this in the acknowledgments, was I thought writing a book was a solo endeavor. I would just go be that writer going into my cabin in Big Sur, writing at my typewriter, and then handing it over to the agent, and I am done. And my acknowledgments section is, I think, 3 pages, because person after person after person was either holding space for me or looking at early copies or helping me edit it or giving me like guidance on the divine, design. Divine, too.
On the divine.
Yeah. Go with it. Roll with it. Roll with it.
And so... yeah, it kind of became, my love letter to the world, like this is what I want to share from my heart right now, but also a way to acknowledge all the people who have touched my heart. The woman on the back here, Dina, founder of Church Awareness, that's the ayahuasca circle I've been in with for 4 years. And name after name in the acknowledgement is some person who's, touched my heart just in the last 4 years. There's a couple people I mentioned, maybe 3, that I knew prior to my psychedelic experience, but all these other names I mentioned are all people that have come into my life in the last 4 years since I met you. And I think that's really friggin' beautiful. We talked about masculinity a lot today, and I'm grateful for that. One of the things you hear over and over again is the male loneliness crisis. That we don't, have friends, we don't have people we can contact in the middle of the night, we don't have people that we can share our, hearts and feelings with. And I feel really grateful that, that's not me. That is not me. I feel very connected. I feel very loved. And this book, I wrote it and it's my name on the cover, but there are dozens and dozens of people who are behind all of these lessons, whether they're clients or supporters or whatever. So this is truly a team effort.
Yeah. But you're an extremely educated person too. So you kind of were the the ringleader.
Yeah, no,
putting it all together, so
certainly
don't pull any credit from yourself. I know there's a lot of people involved in what it does, but
well, I went after this the same way I go after everything. I went after this book the same way I went after my military career. Like, okay, what is the goal? Who are my allies? Who are my enemies? What are my resources? Where's an opening in the market that hasn't been filled? Okay. What's my plan of attack around like marketing? Okay, I don't know anything about marketing and I'm not good at this tech stuff anymore. What's the team that I can build? Like, I'm really grateful for the military leading me to this book. And even when I was thinking about the style of how it's written, it was written in military style. I have 3 master's degrees from military academic programs, and damn it, there is a way of writing there. There is no word wasted. There is no word that's going to be confusing. If 2 sentences can be one, you make it one. Like this simple, well-structured like craftsmanship that the military taught me, it's all over that book.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
With a little bit of poetry thrown in.
Sure, yeah. If you want to drone on and on and on, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It condenses it a little bit.
Yeah. No, the military writing is all about being as concise as possible. There's a quote from Abraham Lincoln at the end of a long letter. He said, "I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have time."
I might have to think through that one.
Yeah, no, and I felt that way writing the book. I'm like, there was a certain point I was at 45,000 words, and the more I write it, the shorter it got. Like, I got down to 36,000 words. Like, the more I was writing it, the shorter it got. Because that's how editing works.
He was saying he wrote like 4,000.
Yeah.
Or 5,000 or whatever to get down to where he was. I didn't have time to keep... Oh, okay, right.
With Abraham Lincoln? Oh, his letter. Yeah. Like he probably could have covered everything in a page if he'd had time to really whittle it down to its essence.
Right.
When I switched to the 40,000 words down to 36, I'm talking about the book.
Oh, yeah, right.
I may have shifted gears too quickly.
Yeah, no, I do that too. My brain kind of blends things together sometimes. Like,
Yeah. But so this is book 1, and the book on what psychedelics can teach us about being a man. Well, maybe a year and a half out. We'll see how it goes.
So what, you're just going to be a writer?
I think so. As long as I keep having ideas, I'm going to keep writing.
Yeah. Will you do therapy? I mean, will you do coaching?
I will do. I do still do coaching, but very little.
Yeah.
Very little. I'm very selective about who I coach because I don't think that's where my primary talent lies. I think my primary talent is writing and public speaking. And I want to keep placing my bets on the highest odds of success. Yeah. And I think I have the highest odds of success and can reach the most people through writing and speaking.
You know, it always blows me away where a human can just have a thought. You know what? I think I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And a year later, you're actually holding this.
Yeah.
You know, and all the people it took. You know, and there's been a lot of speeches about, you know, if you think about something enough, it will happen.
Yeah.
You know, if you wake up and you think about where you want to be, or you just see yourself there, what am I going to be doing when I'm there? And just know that you're going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Having a book, whatever. Yeah. It's like every day you do a little thing to get to that, whether you know it or not, right? You know, like you were talking about, there's so many different steps, and this guy did this, and this guy did that, and this did, but it didn't all happen in one day. You got to this, and it's like, okay, what do I need next? What's next? I love that. What's next?
So,
you know what I'm saying? And then at the end of it, you're like, oh my God, I've got this book, man. It just amazes me how you can take something out of the air and just have an idea about it. I love humans, man. Just love it.
No, we for all of our faults, we are absolutely fascinating. I don't think there's a more interesting game in town.
Right.
I mean, maybe in the whole universe, we don't know enough about it to say that, but like, no, we actually are special.
Yeah.
We are very unique creators, and I don't think it does us any service to pretend that we're not that fucking incredible.
Right.
So once I realized that it wasn't going to be a memoir and it was going to be a self-help book, I wrote down 12 affirmations about this book, and I put them on my phone and I would look at them all the time, and it was like these affirmations around the book, this is what helped build it, because these were the instruction codes I was giving to my subconscious. I don't actually believe that I necessarily wrote this book. I think all I had to do was have the discipline to sit down in front of the keyboard and let it flow out. Most of our processing, I think, is done behind the scenes, and then the ego, the conscious mind, kind of comes in later and kind of maybe cleans it up and takes credit for everything. It's like a manager.
Yeah.
But back there is this amazing creative machine that can always, not always, but often come up with just incredible things. And, we talk about improv, like that was a lesson of improv, because when you go into improv, you do not want to have a plan. You do not want to have it all scripted out. You don't want to have an arc. You want to be present and just react. And that teaches you to trust your mind to come up with the right answer at the right time.
So that's the whole idea of that process.
Yeah. And so, writing kind of was that. Like I would put together a structure and some goals, and then slowly my brain would be working on, ideas or stories or phrases that would be helpful for the direction of that book. I gave a 90-minute talk on the book last week, and I had kind of an outline what I would cover, but other than that, I just stood up and I spoke from my heart, because I learned to trust that this brain can come up with the right words at the right time. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And,
confidence.
We talked about, the podcast too. Like, I've been on 8 podcasts this month. Not once have I gone in with an agenda or something specific I wanted to talk about.
Right.
You be present, you listen, and you answer from the heart.
Right.
And sure enough, it all comes out. It's not perfect. I probably messed up a couple words, but it's better than I could have done if I'd planned out every word.
Right.
Much better.
Sometimes when I do a podcast, I'll put some bullet points.
Yeah, big stuff.
Just because my memory's not like it was. I don't want to miss anything. But for the most part, same thing.
Yeah.
Wherever wherever we go, wherever we take conversation, that's fine. That's what I want. That's great.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Improv, So, that's a great idea. Yeah, great idea. So,
should we schedule the next podcast? I'm available in 18 months. Give me a year.
I can't wait to read this thing, man. I can't wait to read it. And I would probably want to have you back after I read it before you get the second, because there's some things we probably need to talk about.
Yeah. Always down for that.
It's been so interesting today. Is there anything first tell me, how do we get a hold of this book?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. So the book is available on Amazon. You can Google Trip of a Lifetime or Benjamin Forest, and it'll pop up. Right now, it is only available on Amazon. It's also on Kindle. I like a good paperback, but it is available on Kindle as well. And within a few months, I really want the audiobook to be available, at the very least on Audible and hopefully elsewhere. Most of my personal reading is not a physical book. I mostly listen to audiobooks, and so I don't want to miss a potential reader, listener, audience member, and so the audiobook is my next big mission. I think that's going to make it a lot more accessible to a lot more people.
Well, I was talking to you about a military book that I had read not too long ago, and I did have to listen to the audio just because you guys speak a little different language, and it is very complicated. And I have a feeling that you're going to cover some areas that I may want to listen to while I'm reading it also. And I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
This recording studio is always open for you if you want to sit down and do that.
I appreciate that.
Cost you $500,000. No, I'm just kidding.
Discount price.
Discount.
Yeah, and then eventually, once the audiobook is done, I foresee a series of maybe 12 YouTube videos covering the same content. I want to get out to as many people as I can. If this was 100 years ago, I would stop at the book. But we live in 2025, and I need to go where the people are, and a lot of them are on the phones and screens.
Yeah. Right.
That's where I'll go. I'll find you.
I will find you.
I'm coming for you.
Anything else we need to talk about? Are we missing anything? We've covered a lot of subject today.
We've covered a lot.
Right.
I think we nailed it.
And we're fairly used to that. Whenever you come in, there's a lot to cover, and it's always complete and yet incomplete. It's complete because I feel like we're getting all the information that's there in the current, and we're looking forward. The incomplete part is we're looking forward to what comes next with Benjamin. Yeah. What's next?
Thank you. And unlike most movie sequels, these are actually getting better. The first one, I was telling you before, I can't listen to the first podcast. Like, it's too raw and unfiltered for me. It's it's a little cringy for me personally. The second one, okay, that's a little polished. I'm proud of that one. That works. But I think this one, is pretty damn solid. And the one we do next year on the penis page is just gonna shoot.
Bro, that first one, you were fresh and raw, man. And I'm so glad raw. We caught it. You know, it
was a moment in time.
Yeah, right. You're like, I'm fine. The other people can't always get help, but I could hear the shakiness in voice, and I'm like, is he though?
I was euphoric. Yeah. I was absolutely euphoric.
But you were speaking to particular people that you couldn't see. Yeah. That needed to hear what you had to say.
For sure. Yeah. Right.
So even though it was chaotic to you in the moment, and it was kind of a chaotic ride, I absolutely think that there were people that needed to hear what you had to say and how you said it, because they could identify with some of that chaos. They could identify with some of that frenetic energy.
So. And exactly what you were saying. It's like, you have proved to be a man. You've been in in war situations. You also, it's like, you don't have to bullshit. You can come in here and be as honest and open as you want. Yeah. And nobody's going to question you, man. Righteous. All right, brother. I'm going to see you in about a year.
Okay.
I'll see you, but we will see you in about a year when this thing is the first book and you got a second one ready to rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Maybe that's going to be a trilogy.
Yeah, right.
I'll keep writing them.
Maybe
that'll
be a trilogy.
Keep coming.
Well, this is not a trilogy. We're going to have a fourth, fifth, and sixth, I'm sure.
Amen.
Righteous?
Cool.
All right, brother.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for coming in. All right. Thanks, guys. Love you guys. If you made it this long, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. And hit the subscribe, give me a like, I'll catch you on the next one. See you.